Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Eric Yarum, and I'm glad to welcome you to the first ever Co-op Circle's Cleveland City Council Candidate Forum, or CCCCCCF. I'm glad for each one of you being here today. Thank you to Pilgrim UCC, which is where we are tonight, to the folks who have worked to bring this event together, to the candidates, to our moderator, Travell Harp, and to everyone in attendance tonight. Thank you. Co-op Circles is a coalition of co-ops and co-op supporting groups that is building a community of people. Sorry, I'm reading off my phone because public speaking terrifies me. Thank you. Who want to see co-ops of all kinds thrive. Worker co-ops, housing co-ops, and community-owned co-ops. We call that vision of an economic system grounded in cooperation rather than competition the solidarity economy. It's part of a global movement for a more just economy. Groups that help steward co-op circles are Cleveland Owns, the Interreligious Task Force, People's Plumbing, Rust Belt Riders, and the group that I'm part of, the Forest City Tech Company, which some of my co-members are sitting here at the tech table, so thank you to the tech table. And many people from across the city and Little Africa Food Cooperative who are providing food here tonight. Let's hear it from Miss Mickey yet again. And I'm standing in front of the monitor, which is, I should know better. And people from many across the city and many other organizations. So a quick show of hands, could you raise your hand if you have attended a co-op circle before? That's a pretty good showing. Thank you all. So tonight our goal is to build relationships between the local solidarity economy and the folks who will be serving the city as council members, to share the priorities and concerns of this co-op circle group with future members of city council, and to understand how future members of City Council approach questions related to this topic. Miss Mickey is kindly sharing food with us today. Let's hear it for her one more time. There's no such thing as too much credit for Miss Mickey. So please feel free to grab a plate when you'd like. Little housekeeping exits are in the back here, as well as through here if you need an emergency exit. Also down this hallway are restrooms if you need that. Please get comfortable and enjoy the conversation today. And after the forum, we will head to the after party at Prosperity Social, just down the street. I will be chaperoning such things, so you can just find me after 9:15, maybe 9:30 at this point, and we will head over there together. And there is a table in the hallway with some candidate literature, so we can't allow campaigning in the space, but they have literature outside if you're curious to learn more about our candidates tonight. So to start today, I'll invite everyone here to join us in a quick co-op circle tradition of a welcome song. So here are C and Mark and Cristobal to lead us.
I'm not going to be teaching the song tonight. My beautiful partners, Mark and Cristobal, will be teaching. But I do want to just start with by saying that it's important to us to ground ourselves in our bodies, that we cooperate and collaborate by sharing and by being connected with each other and with ourselves. And just want to give a welcome to remind folks where they're placed, where they're occupying, where they're situated right now. We are here on Iroquois, Algonquin, and Siouan speaking lands. These are lands that have always been stewarded by people who sought to come together in so-called Cleveland as a place of exchange. Cleveland has been a place where Indigenous nations for time immemorial have come to trade and to exchange ideas. And so we are doing all of this work in the solidarity economy as reparations, as atonement, as a guarantee of mutual stewardship for our community and for our descendants. So may we become good ancestors. And with that, I'll pass it on.
Okay, and here we have the lyrics. It's a very simple song. This comes to us from the Peace Poets from the South Bronx, because everybody wants peace, right? And we'll do this line by line, and I'll ask you to repeat after me. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, great. So, one line at a time. We are the movement.
We are the movement.
Liberation moving. For every single human, for every single human, we have come to win. We have come to win. Shall we put it all together? Yeah. We're going to do it 3 times. Join in when you got it. 1, 2, 3. We are the movement, liberation moving for every single human. We have come to win. We are the movement, liberation moving for every single human. We have come to win. Last time. We are the movement, liberation moving for every single human. We have come to win. Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you so much. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our moderator, Travell Harp. You're good.
How's everyone doing today? Can I get some energy in the room? So my name is Travell Harp. I'm the executive director of Neighborhood Leadership Institute. I've been in this work a long time, and I'm real happy to be here, and I'm honored to have actually been asked to be the moderator today. So I got a couple things. One, welcome you guys. And so, as many of you know, Cleveland's population has been trending a decline since the 1960s. According to the 2020 census, the population fell between 360,000 people. And so I guess to date, right now, they're approximating about 365,379 people, right? So that triggered a provision within the city charter to reduce the number of council ward seats. Therefore, the council seats it used to be 17 seats, and now they're 15. So this year, approximately 43 candidates are competing for the opportunity to serve in one of those seats. Cleveland does not also, just to note, Cleveland does not have a staggered election, meaning that all 15 council seats, and for that matter, even the mayor office, are up for election this year. Did you guys know that? And so, in effect, the entire city government is on the ballot. So this is important. And so tonight's forum is an opportunity for candidates that are here. So, 43 are running, and I think we got reserved roughly about 14 out of the 43 and everything, but I think that's a good show because y'all don't want to be here all day for this one, right? All right, so we're going to try to keep things moving. You hear less from me, but more from the candidates. So tonight's forum is an opportunity for candidates to share their views and outline their plans for addressing some of Cleveland's most pressing challenges, particularly around economic policy. And the topics will include business development, corporate responsibility, workers' rights, housing, and the city budget. Somebody say the city budget. That's the city's pocketbook, right? We need to know where that's going. So this is a non-partisan educational event, right? So many of the hosting organizations are public charities recognized under 501c3 IRS codes. As such, we do not endorse or oppose any candidates for public office. Here are a few ground rules to help us ensure fair and respectful discussion. Number one, each candidate will have 1 minute for opening remarks. So think about what you're going to say, y'all. So 1 minute for opening remarks and 1 minute for closing comments. Our timekeeper is right there. Raise your hand. And so she will give you she'll tell you when it's 30 seconds and when it's like 5 seconds, whatever. She'll let you know where you're at with time. Also, so when we ask the questions, just so we can move things along, the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Now, this forum is not a debate, so candidates should not. They should direct their comments to the moderator or the audience, not to one another. So y'all can't be fighting up here. You got that? Y'all got that? Okay. And so now, if time allows, written questions from the audience may be submitted. Our question team. So we got ushers over here. Our question teams will collect those and then read them off at the due time. And so we'll do our best to include it in the program based on, because we have to, we have a timely thing going on. And so also, in order to cover a wide range of issues, some questions may be directed only to a specific groups of candidates. However, we'll make sure that every candidate receives equal number of questions and comparable time to speak. The last thing is, to keep this event on schedule, we may respectfully step in if a candidate exceeds their time limit. I don't want to have to do that, but we have to stay good on time. Thank you for hearing. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for supporting civic engagement in the city of Cleveland. Let's begin. So we're going to begin with the 1 minute opener. So did you have the order, or we just? Okay. All right, so we're going to start with Lesa Jones-Dollar.
Hello. Hi, my name is Lesa Jones-Dollar. I am representing Ward 1, which is the Lee Harvard, Leesaville, Union Miles area. And I would just like to say that I am a wife, a mom of 2, and also a dog mom of 2. And my husband and I, we own a business called Class Inc., which we are paid representative that represents a mental health community. Our passion really lies with this community, and what paid representatives do, very quickly, we manage people funds. So we've been in business since 2013, and for over 10 years, I've had accounting and budgeting experience. So when we're talking about budgeting, I'm your girl.
LaShorn Caldwell, would you like to go?
Good evening, everyone. I'm LaShorn K. Caldwell, and I am a homeowner in Ward 3, which consists of Mount Pleasant, and it receives part of the Buckeye area. I've been a homeowner in that area on a newly developed street for 22 years. I worked at CMHA for 22 years, which was just one ward next to it in Ward 5. So most of my career, I've worked in housing. I'm retired at this time. I worked in this community for as long as I've been there. I've been on the board of Mount Pleasant Community Zone. I worked at the City of Cleveland. I worked at Famicos Foundation and Union Miles Development, a CDC. My experience and my connections are very, very wide, and I have a lot of experience dealing with serving others. That is my primary goal, is to serve the community in which I live in, and be in a public service. That's your responsibility. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everybody. I'm Councilwoman Gray of Ward 4, which will be Ward 3 of 2026. I am the current incumbent council. I've been in Ward 4 since '89. I am over Buckeye, Cleveland Shaker, Mount Pleasant, and Woodland. I'm here to advocate to move forward in this position, and also to share what I have already done and what we're going to be doing and how we want to be moving forward. And I'm also, added to this, I do run my own small business. Right now it's dormant because I'm council, and I've been in business for the last 17 years. I have a retail business. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having me here today at the forum. I really appreciate being surrounded by so many talented people who are doing the actual hard work. So thank you for all of you for doing that. I'm Rahan Wahid. I'm running for Cleveland City Council in Ward 4, aka Old Brooklyn. Well, most of it at least, the way that it got carved out. A little bit about me. I'm an internal medicine board certified physician. I worked in Cleveland taking care of patients, half a decade at the VA, the other time at Metro. From there, as many of you know, healthcare is kind of broken. I kind of moved into various leadership roles, went to corporate thinking maybe with money I could do some great things, became very much about greed, and so I left corporate and been looking around Cleveland to say, hey, between 2008 when I moved in until now, I see a lot of shiny things happening downtown, but my neighborhood continues to decline and get worse, and we got water line breaks and roads are worse and everything's worse. Maybe there's a time to doing something different, and I think we need to think about all of our communities and our neighborhoods, and that's why I'm running.
Hello, I'm Councilman Mike Polensik. I presently represent Cleveland's 8th Ward. I was born in the Glenville community, raised in Collinwood, proud graduate of Collinwood High School. I've given my time, I've given my effort, and my concern for my community. My voting record, my attendance record, and my legislative record speaks for itself. I am presently considering running in a new Ward 10. That's why I'm here. I want to commend all of you who are here today, and I want to commend the church as well. What a magnificent church. I got the grand tour a little while ago. So it's about participation. It's about becoming stakeholders. It's becoming concerned about what's happening in your specific neighborhood on your street. That's how I got involved as a neighborhood activist a long time ago, got involved with trying to make my neighborhood a better place. I commend, again, each and every one of you, and I commend all the candidates. The candidates not only here at the front table, but the candidates that are not here who are considering. It's about being involved. It's about making our Cleveland the best it can be. And again, I'm very thankful to be here, and I look forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you.
Hey y'all, my name's Tanmay Shah. I'm a union organizer, a truck driver, and a housing attorney. And I'm really proud to be running for the new Ward 12, which includes the neighborhoods of Edgewater, Coudell, and West Boulevard. I currently work at Rust Belt Riders, so really appreciative of my current coworkers and former coworkers I see in the crowd here. I'm running because our city doesn't work for the working class. Right now, it works really well for the rich and for the ultra wealthy. And it's time that it started working for the working class. For me, as a housing attorney, I represented tenants in housing court against landlords, and I saw people who were not being able to afford $600, $700 in rent. And I go home and I would pass luxury developments, and the question kept coming back to me, who's actually going to live here? And we know it's not the people that actually built this city or that make this city run. So I'm here to change that, and I'm here to reflect the working class, so that's why I'm running.
Thank you so much for those wonderful introductions. Now, this question is for everyone, and if you need me to repeat it before you answer, just let me know. And so, now, I just want to put it in context. It may draw. We're trying to be, so you'll see when I read it. So, some recent federal policy proposals, such as change in community development block grant funding, immigration enforcement, the federal employment or property use in Cleveland, could have implications for the local communities. As a member of council, how would you work to address or respond to federal decisions that may affect the well-being and economic stability of Cleveland residents? Since we started with Lisa Dollar, we're going to begin with you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I think right now, more than ever, it's critical for local government to be able to step up and fill in the gaps here and to be able to show the people that government can actually work. This is part of the right and the ultra-wealthy's attack on the working class to show that, to paint government as something that's inefficient or something that doesn't actually serve the people so they can continue to defund it and make people distrust the government. And this is where we have to actually show that it is working for the working class. And to me, that means actually prioritizing our neighborhoods so they can thrive. That means actually prioritizing TIFs that work for the homeowners and the working class instead of the ultra wealthy. Just a few weeks ago, our city once again renewed or gave another $1 billion to Danny Gilbert for more riverfront development. To me, that's just something that's not in the long-term interest of the city to continue giving more tax subsidies. These are trickle-down economics that we know for decades don't actually work. So it's to provide those monies to go back to the neighborhoods is what I'm focused on. And I would love to actually fund immigration defense for immigrants right now at a time where we are seeing these escalated attacks. We've seen that happen in our own city as well. We've seen the attacks in Cilantro where they've been abducting immigrants off of their workplaces. And we've seen other cities actually be able to fund ways of actually providing attorneys so they can fight back in federal court. That's something we absolutely should be doing and making sure that these communities know we're standing in solidarity with them. So those would be just some of the things I would be really interested in. Just yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I'd like to remind the audience is that council does not hire, we do not fire, we do not deploy, we do not administer. That's the charter, that's the law in the city of Cleveland. A lot of people don't understand that, and I'm surprised, quite frankly, because we don't teach government and civics in school anymore. So we are limited from a standpoint, we can't control the federal government. We get the government you deserve. And what we're dealing with in Washington today is a group of individuals who have no concern or understanding of the urban areas in this country. That's become very clear, whether it be in Washington or be in Columbus. So city council, all of us in city council at present and those who are seeking political office have to be very mindful that we have to utilize our dollars for the best interests of our city. We can propose any kind of program we want, but it's another thing to fund it. It's another thing to make sure it works. We're very fortunate we have a balanced budget now within the city of Cleveland. Not too many cities, large cities, can say that. We have a balanced budget today in the city of Cleveland. So we've got to look at our priorities. We've got to focus on quality of life issues. All of us in Cleveland are immigrants. We've got to make sure Cleveland is a welcoming city. And I believe it has been to a great extent over the years. But we got to build upon that. We got to make our neighborhoods a place where people want to stay. We need believers. I want to say to all of you to hear, we need believers in our neighborhood. You look at the neighborhoods that have come back because there are people or institutions that believe. The neighborhoods that are at risk or have issues are areas where people don't want to become engaged in. They don't want to become partners. They don't want to become engaged. So again, my brothers and sisters who are here, a neighborhood and a community is only as good as the people in it. So at the end of the day, get involved, and I appreciate it. But Cleveland City Council, I'd like to think, has done everything we could to address the issues in the city of Cleveland today. Thank you.
So I'll just start off by saying I think Clevelanders deserve better. And when it comes to, thank you. When it comes to federal government, I think what we've seen done by the city year over year is use one-off federal funds to take care of neighborhoods, while long-term tax subsidies have gone towards downtown corporations and the billionaires. And that has set us up for the position that we're in, where federal funding is at risk and we don't have a plan to be able to take care of it. We haven't really thought about our own long-term future for Cleveland because we've been giving it away. It's been exploited, as others that are on this panel have called the city of Cleveland. And we need to stop that. We need to stop exploiting our own city and our own resources from our own people, and we need to start taking care of each other. We got to start with empathy for each other, our neighbors, whether it's the immigrant community or those that have been here forever. We have to do this ourselves, and we've got to think about it very differently. Charters and law allow guidance, but that doesn't mean you can't be creative around funding things. You might not hire, but that doesn't mean you can't choose what to fund and where you want to put the money. And where you end up putting the money determines what your priorities are. And so if you start looking at what are we building, what are we spending money, who's getting the tax subsidies, it helps you understand priorities. And if you start looking around your neighborhoods and you don't see roads that are taken care of, you see water line breaks that are gone 3 weeks that haven't been touched, or tree lawns that haven't been taken care of, power outages that happen every storm, you know that the priority hasn't been you. We deserve better. We need a city that puts people first. And when it comes to the federal government, yes, there's going to be challenges, but that doesn't mean we can't overcome them if we work together. Thank you.
Everybody, I just want to say that this is my first 4 years in council, and it's a lot of variables that you have to learn to understand. I am basically and was an activist in the community, thinking like a community activist, because we needed to do more, we needed to have more. But since I've been on the other side in this seat, this is when you learn how the funding is spent. And true enough, yes, we want to do more in our community, but as my colleague stated, that we don't deal in the higher level of federal funding. We deal with local funding. And what I have learned in this position, we have a general budget, and that general budget oversees the city. And that's part of Mayor's Bill general budget that pays his employees to take care of the city. We also have ward money that goes to the ward per each council. And those ward fundings are your casino, your capital dollars, and your CDBG funding. That funding is funded for the city, which I have learned in your ward. So basically, we receive federal and state funding for us to apply what we need to invest in our community. So some things on that federal level, we all need to get together and go down to Washington and sit down and scream and holler and tell them to change the legislative laws if we want more federal funding to come into our community. Otherwise, we have to understand what I learned to understand when I got in this council seat. The funding that we do receive, you can do a lot with if you manage it right with your constituents.
Hi. My position on that, we're not covering the basics. You can't build a house on sand. So whatever monies are given to us from whatever level, we're not clearly utilizing it. It's simple things, and I spoke before city council. Why is there grass growing out of concrete? It's simple weed killer. We're not following the basics, and every time we get an answer from someone, it's that we're so limited. Well, maybe somebody else need to come in and use what is there to do something else. When Mayor Jackson was in office, he said, Ms. Caldwell, when I went to a community meeting, please let the city get downtown and the near west side together, and I promise you we're coming to the southeast side. He's not here and he can't be held accountable, but anybody that's elected to office, who applies at City Hall, they are public servants and they work for us. We hire people by our vote. So when people say they can't fire people, but they can do the work that they asked us to get the job for. So I'm not buying that our city is we have plenty of resources. You have to work together, demonstrate that you can do the best you can with your budget. I live in a ward which is deplorable. I'm there by choice, though, not by force. And I want something done, and I want to see it done now. The bottom line is something more than what's being done on the southeast side of Cleveland and other places should and could be done. All this limitation, well, let somebody else who don't have a limitation mind step up and be responsible. That is why I'm running for this office. It's because something else can be done. And if I'm looking for a helping hand, I'm looking at the ends of both of my arms. Thank you.
As a person that's also an activist in my community and wanting the desire to represent my community and have a seat on city council, just listening to two seasoned people, Polisky and Gray, that sits here, as they state that they have funding that they deal with this locally. And so that is the budget that they primarily come together and try to see what they can do for our community and our constituents. And as a person that will be newly on the seat, and I'm claiming that, it will be my responsibility to engage with them and understand how federal policies work, whether if it's positive or negative. I want to know how this work, how the budget work, how the funds work, and I think we have to come collectively together to see what we will provide as far as the community's needs. Because our communities, like I said, I'm on the Lesaville, Lee Harbor, half of Mount Pleasant and Union Miles. They're very disinvested communities. And so we need to, I'm also a part of several block clubs because I'm interested in how the people want to see their community thrive. I'm interested to see how you would like to see policy and the budget set into place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this next question actually deals with that. So Cleveland City Council members have significant control over how funds are allocated, right? Such as community development block grant dollars and casino revenues. And they're allocated within awards, often among hundreds of thousands of dollars. If elected, do you have a plan to involve residents in the decisions on how public funds are spent in your ward? If so, what does that plan look like? Could start with you.
It seemed like I'm going to double back and answer the same way. But yes, like I said, I am a resident myself. And I'm very actively involved, and I know that what I would like to see in my neighborhood, I want to be included. I want to be able to sit down with my council person and say, hey, okay, we have this amount of funds. What are we doing with it? It's a lack of transparency that is not offered to us because where are the casino funds? We're constantly asking, but, oh, they want us to pull public records. Well, we shouldn't have to jump through hoops and dive through hard times to try to obtain this information. This is something that should be told to us transparently, or even just shown to us through a budget statement. So yes, I will work closely with my constituents, and I would like to hear their voices in reference to how they would like to see these funds distributed throughout their community. I think it's very important that if it's democracy, we need to hear your voice, because our people in the neighborhood that live in these neighborhoods are very vital to the community.
I'm very deliberate in saying it needs to go back to a basic state where if you have a meeting, it's okay to have a monthly meeting. But we also need to go back and have meetings. In addition to that, meeting with the precinct people and the people that actually live next door to each other. They're our neighbors. And that's just what they are. And neighbors pick a representative to go downtown to talk with the people across the room, upstairs, and other departments to move mountains for us. That is not happening. What we need to do is let the people vote. Just like she said, the input from the people who elected individuals need to have a say-so. I myself would let the people vote at the meeting, have a simple ballot, and we put our issues up there. We break them down to the 5 most important issues for us, and then let the people in the room say, I vote for this to be done first and second. Once it's done, you come back to them so they can see something. It's okay to give me a newsletter telling me I spent $1 million here, but when I'm living on Kinsman and seeing it look as devastated as it is, I don't see a dollar. Tell me how that connects. Math has not changed. 1 + 1 is 2. I'm just asking for a few dollars to fix up the flower boxes that's on the street. That's not no $1 million project. And if you have millions of dollars and you can't do it all, take that million, break it up, 500,000, 250,000, and make 4 projects come out to something that's spectacular. At least somebody can see. I don't mind seeing stuff in print, but I want to see stuff with my eyes, because this is my reality. When I leave my street, which is one-way street, I go to the left and to the right, and I'm concerned about the people who don't have the things that I have. It's not about me. It's about service delivery, results-oriented cities in the city of Cleveland. Everybody knows that we're suffering on the southeast side of Cleveland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody, again. When I came into this position, I wasn't aware of the effects of our ward. So what I did, I put an SS mapping, and I partnered with Cleveland State Urban Affairs. Once they did the SS mapping, 800+ residents did that survey. When that survey came back, then we were able to see what we needed to do first, and that was a thorough cleanup. And from that thorough cleanup, when I had the monthly meetings, every month I asked the residents, what do you want to see on your street? What do you want to have? And how you want to build your community back? So every month I put up an impact statement, and we broke down the casino funds, the capital funds, the CDBG funding. We broke it down where each funding supposed to provide some type of resource to the community. And as we built that over the last 3.5 years, I have a listing of the magazines that I pass out to the community every month. They take that listing home to see how they chose what they wanted to be developed in the ward. Our ward, as far as I'm concerned, I see what everyone sees. We built that ward back with development, with infrastructure, with businesses, as well as partnership. And over time, we have a listing of all the CBG funding that was spent and invested in the ward, all the capital funding that was invested in the ward, all the CBG funding that was invested in the ward. Everyone has that magazine, where that money went to and how much it went for. At the end of the day, we ended with
Thank you.
$2,619,957.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I believe the question was really around participatory budgeting of some sorts, right? So how do we get, which I believe the council was adamantly against when it was tried, which to me is kind of like disappointing to have individuals up here who don't want participation, right? We talk about wanting civic duty and civic engagement, but yet we don't support that. It's contradictory like crazy. For me, it seems as if when we talk about funding and needs for the city, we can always find $1 billion or $300 million for subsidies or monies to give away when it's downtown or a big project. But when it comes to our neighborhoods, it's always a budget. I've got a budgetary issue. I only have $2 million of funds. Well, where's all the other money coming from? Where is that coming from? Because I see it with my eyes. I've seen what's developed and what's been built downtown, and I've seen all of the neighborhoods that have continued to worsen. I see it every day. It's not hard to see. Yet there's plenty of excuses for why they can't. And I believe that we need somebody that doesn't make excuses and that says, hey, we've got to figure out a way. I'm not promising that tomorrow everything's going to be better. That is not realistic. But I believe that we can work towards a sustainable future where we grow together. And we get the people involved at the neighborhoods to determine what are the needs for your neighborhood and what do we do to increase funding and growth. At the end of the day, people vote with their feet, right, when it comes to a city. And what we've seen is people have left the city of Cleveland. And that's why we're redistricting. And what we need to do is find a way for people to be happy in their neighborhoods, be happy about the basic needs being met, and have a future that they can see built here with small businesses, sustainable growth that will allow them to flourish in these neighborhoods. So not just survive, but actually thrive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have 22 neighborhood groups in my ward. I have one of the most heaviest organized wards in the city of Cleveland. All the projects that I'm working on right now, 19 major projects, have come out of those neighborhood meetings. So I can't speak to anyone else. I have one of the better wards in the city, one of the more stable wards in the city, because of those 22 groups and working with this councilman. I like to think that with the work that I've done with them has led to that stability in our community. So I listen to my people. I listen to what they have to say. But again, there's only a limited amount of money. We have, and I want to say this again, you have the general fund budget. So you're limited. That's mostly for salaries for city employees, the general fund budget. We use bond funds for big projects. So the casino funds, the NEF funds, which the NEF fund I created in 2001, which we put millions into neighborhood projects, and that was it. It was only directed for neighborhood projects. So my position is this: I listen to my folks. I engage them in the projects that I'm working on presently in Ward 8, which next year will be Ward 10, are all the result of that. So that's what I have to say. I listen to my people. I engage them. I came out of that community. I was a neighborhood activist before I became a member of Cleveland City Council. So I know the importance of some community input, listening to our community. That's why I'm here tonight, because I'd like to hear people's opinions. I want to hear different perspectives, different point of view. I might learn something. So at the end of the day, I would tell every one of you, get involved in your neighborhood groups and organizations. Be a stakeholder. Let your voice be heard. Council does listen. I know I listen. So that's why we're doing all the projects, whether it be the Waterloo Arts District, 185th, East 140th, 200th Street now, Villaview Road, soon to be 28 acres going into the Metro Parks on the lakefront. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Repeat the question. It's been a minute.
Okay, it says Cleveland City Council members have a significant control over how funds such as community development block grant dollars, casino revenues are allocated within their wards, often amounting to hundreds of thousands of dollars. If elected, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision of how those public funds are spent in your ward? If so, what does that plan look like?
Absolutely. I'm committed to introducing a participatory budgeting bill when I get elected into office. I was really disappointed when our previous council killed that using our taxpayer money and funded an effort against this. It was really disappointing. And for me, I'm committed to actually listening to the people and putting that back into the community. My priorities from day one of this campaign have been clear. I'm focused on affordable housing, affordable groceries, and reliable city services. But that doesn't mean that I get to pick exactly how much money goes where. Rather, I would like to have actual community input into this process. I hear our council members talk about how they want more community participation and involvement. We've done that. I was one of the organizers for the past year and a half when we asked City Council for a ceasefire statement on the war in Gaza for the genocide. And City Council stonewalled us for 16 weeks. Where was that input that they were listening to when we asked for a simple statement that wouldn't have cost the city a dime? But instead, we were on the outside looking in and waiting for 15 weeks, and then they begrudgingly gave us a watered-down version. So these are just moments that have driven what I'm doing, and I'm committed to actually listening to the people and making sure that we get some sort of actual community involvement in this process. For far too long, our neighborhoods have been going downhill. Capitalism is eroding our neighborhoods. And for us to be able to get neighborhood stakeholders to get involved again, we have to make them feel heard. We have to give them a real avenue for change, and that starts with those small changes, and I'm committed to doing those.
Thank you so much. So just like to remind people that we only have a certain amount of time for the forum, so if you can keep your voices down because it distracts from the candidates answering. Now, I'm going to refer to Eric because I believe that we have a question from the audience.
Hello, yes, my name's Nathan. We've collated several questions into one, okay? So there's some interest in if, like we'll live in hope, if the Browns Stadium does relocate, right? How would you on the council use those freed up funds for sustainable long-term growth for Cleveland?
You want to repeat the question one more time?
Yes. So if the Browns Stadium leaves, how would you on the council want to use those baked-in funds for sustained long-term growth for Cleveland?
You go ahead.
Okay. As I indicated earlier, my priorities are affordable housing, affordable groceries, and reliable city services. That's what I'm going to be investing in, making sure our foundations are actually covered. That means actually organizing citywide tenants unions. That means actually having city-subsidized grocery stores and a network that actually feeds the people instead of just seeking to profit from them. And finally, for reliable city services, we got to make sure that the basics are covered. For far too long, we keep being told that Cleveland's a poor city and we don't have the money for this. But we know that's not true. It's an exploited city. And we're going to be seeing how we can reinvest those back. And for me, those are the priorities. It's housing, groceries, and reliable city services.
Thank you.
First of all, you can't use the funds for that. The funds are bond funds. We still owe approximately around $36 million on the stadium. Think about that. We still owe that amount, and that we're going to pay that through 2028. We're going to pay this year about $9 million for debt service, interest in principal and debt service. That money cannot be used for grocery stores. It can't be used for parks or playgrounds. That was earmarked for the stadium. And I'm the only one left down there that voted against the original deal because it stunk then and it didn't get any better over the past 30 years. So at the end of the day, when we're through paying off the stadium, 2028, then we're at the figure, what are we going to do? What do we reprioritize in this city? But I want to caution everybody around this table. We're going to use the money for this. You can't. You better look at the law. You can't reprogram those dollars. They're earmarked for the stadium. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I keep hearing over and over is we can't, right? We can't. When it comes to Bedrock, it's how much can we give you? When it comes to Sherwin-Williams, it's how much can we give you? When it comes to Haslam's, it's how much can we give you? It is not we can't. The people here, we can't. And to me, it's how do we become creative to deal with the constraints that we have? Are there limitations in everything that we do? We do. We do have them. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know every single limitation, but that doesn't mean you don't take the opportunity to be creative around these things. That's what I did as an executive. That's what I had to do as a doc to deal with the insurance companies. You have to be creative. And you can't just sit here and just say no and give up. Nope, not going to be, right? And so for me, it's about being out there, being creative, and finding new ways to help the neighborhoods. We've got hardworking people in Old Brooklyn, yet we've got, at the same time, exploitation happening of the neighborhoods so downtown can prosper. That has to change. That has to change. And so that would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna say I'm agree with my colleague Mike. I have learned a lot coming into this seat and to understand how the funding and the bond money is being spent and what we can and cannot do by the law of the funding. So dealing with the Brown Stadium, I know a lot of us don't know the ins and outs of that situation, and it's still an ongoing situation as well. But to know that, just understand, what we're dealing with pertaining to the Brown Stadium, stadium. A lot of us don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. All we know is, what we hear from the media. So we get outraged with that soundbite of thinking that someone is keeping something back from us. We need to get at the table to understand all the fanatics of what's going on with that situation, but to know that what we're doing for our community, what we trying our best to provide the services, the resources that need to be first and foremost for our community. And that should be our focus on the funding that we do receive, the funding that we have locally to give to our community. Stay focused on that to know what you need to do and how you need to deal with that. Thank you.
So to start off, we already know that the money cannot be used for anything. But why didn't we know before today? And what I'm saying is, it's not just media. Council has an opportunity to send out, put on their website, because I know Stephanie House-Jones sends me stuff, and she's not even my council person about what's going on. If we know that something is happening, why don't we know? Now, there's 3 rings of knowledge. There's things you know, there's things you know you don't know. And there's things you don't know because you just found out tonight. If they have to pay that stadium off, who knew? We just think they're just marching off and building a new one. Why didn't somebody just let us know? It was just that simple. We are not informed. We don't have to be held hostage to information when we are counted in the census and monies are based upon our heads and our family count. I should have known that. They could have did a press release on City Hall and said, we still own the stadium. We hate that this happened. This is the update or whatever. City Hall belongs to me and everybody in this room. It's the people's building. We pay utilities there and everything else, and we can't get information out of the place that we pay the bills for. Now, that's a sad situation. And my thought is going to be sharing information is free. We're not even using what's free, let alone budgeting for something that the citizens in the city of Cleveland need. And I thank you.
Okay, so as we sit here and we hear once again Councilman Polinsky and Councilwoman Gray speak about the funding,
Yeah, don't direct anything to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. They talk about, so these funds are supposed to be appropriated to the stadium. from what I'm hearing, and the stadium only. So according to law, I know that from what I hear, that the Browns were supposed to stay, but they figured out a way to leave. So in my opinion, I just feel that if we come to the table and we sit down and we just seek other opportunities in reference to what we could do with this money, I think that it'll just be an open dialogue in reference to seeing what we can do with this budget.
Okay. Thank you so much. Is there another question from the audience? How did we can?
We just got a late entry. We're going to.
If not, I can ask one.
Include it in. Sure. Okay. We'll ask the question that just came in. What is your opinion on the Council Leadership Fund? Why does it exist? As a council member, would you take money from the Council Leadership Fund?
Ask the question one more time.
What is your opinion of the Council Leadership Fund? Why does it exist? As a council member, would you take money from the Council Leadership Fund?
Go ahead.
Talking about Council Leadership Fund, is that the budget that the council person receives for their community? Okay, so what? Okay, can we go into debt, please? In depth.
All right.
Is there someone who can explain what that is briefly?
I know Mike sure definitely knows, but he can fill in whatever I miss. It's a slush fund. This is a PAC that is controlled by the council leadership. Currently, it's Blaine Griffin. This is a PAC, a political action committee that the council fundraises for. They have annual fundraisers, and they ask the rich people around town to donate. The donation limits this past year were roughly over $16,000. That's the upper limit of what can be donated. And I don't know if you know any Clevelanders that have $16,000 lying around. I certainly don't. But some of the biggest funders to this PAC are the Haslams, K&D Management, pretty much all of the real estate developers that end up getting nice deals from City Council. So that's the Leadership Council Fund, and it's used to protect incumbents. And it's used at the discretion of the council president for races, for whatever money they want to spend on. And I'm sure Mike can explain further if he wants.
The Council Leadership Fund has been around forever. It changes its names, it changes what year it is, but the Council Leadership Fund has been there since time infinitum. Some people have received council leadership funds over the years. There were years where council leadership fund was used against me because I was viewed as an outsider. So I would say to any of my colleagues, and I said when I was council president, never be dependent upon the council leadership fund. I raise my own money. That's what I've done in my own ward. I can't speak to anyone else. I raise my own money, and just as I'm going to raise it now. I've never been dependent upon the council leadership fund, but it's there. And everyone running here has a PAC. The PAC is no different. Everyone, including me, have a PAC. If you're doing it legally, the council leadership fund is no different. It's a political action committee. They raise money for the council. But there have been those of us where those funds have been used against us at times. So I don't even worry about the council leadership fund. I'm not afraid of it. I don't plug money into it. It's there, and it's been there as long as there's been a Cleveland City Council in one shape or form. So it is not a slush fund. They raised it to support the members of the caucus, of the Democratic caucus. They have it in the Ohio House for the Democrats. They have it in the Ohio Senate as well for the Democrats. They have it in the House and Congress. They have a PACs for their re-election committees. Don't get caught up in that, and don't be worried about the PAC. If you are a candidate and you're running, you can raise your own money, and I hope you're doing that, and I hope you have a legitimate PAC created. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eh, Excuse me, excuse me. All right, so also, just remember that those in the back, your voice carry, and we want to make sure that we are efficient with our time. And so if you can keep it down, and then also if you have a phone, just put it on silent or vibrate, that kind of thing, so we don't hear it. All right, go ahead.
Could we actually get that question answered from that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I thought
yeah.
we were just.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
You know, we've had the explanation of what that PAC is of the slush fund. Do you actually want answers for the question
Yeah,
you
yeah,
asked?
go ahead. Go, if you want to answer, go
So you
ahead.
want me to start first? Okay, so personally, I'm not taking money from it. I think that having this shadow PAC, and again, there's different types of PACs that exist. There's not just one. So please educate yourself on understanding that. Knowing that there's different limits and some things are transparent, some aren't. If you wanted to go take a look at the Board of Elections website, you can go see who's been donating money to, and you can look at the individual candidates and find out who has been taking money from the Council Leadership Fund as well. It's hard to get to, but it's all available there. And as Dunmay shared, it is designed to keep the incumbents that those in power want to have there. And so they maintain control. I personally believe that that should be eliminated in its capacity, and instead there should be a general fund that's created for anybody wanting to run. And so we have a public fund similar to other larger cities have, and that way we take the money out of politics and allow people with the right vision and purpose for the city have an opportunity to win, rather than it being about who you know, how much secret dollars you can get, and so that way you end up having more money to win. I think that's wrong. We really need to work towards taking money out of politics, and that could be a step towards that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, coming into this seat, I have learned about the leadership fund, the PAC fund for the incumbents. However, we have to understand that when we go out and fundraise, we have fundraisers that come to our own fundraising event that also give us funding for our campaign. So whether how you feel, where it comes from the PAC, if it comes from the neighbors, if it comes from another organization, if it comes from just people donating, that's, that can be considered a PAC, because you need funding to campaign. You need funding to get out here and put your message out. And everyone doesn't feel the same about where that funding comes from. We might say one thing, but at the end of the day, when you out here campaigning, you need funding. And to understand where your funding comes from, that will help you and your constituents to know that you're campaigning for them and they're supporting you to keep, to stay in that seat and to do what they ask you to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
The answer is no, because being in the community, I have seen the people that get the favors. I have looked at the bills that are passed and introduced. It's certain people named keep appearing who's part of the Old Boys Club. It's not something that's secret, even though people think it is. If you just look at what got passed and who presented the bill and who was on it, it tells you a lot. There's consistency in wrongdoing. It's inconsistency in city council and right doing. And I thank you.
Thank you.
My answer as well would be no, I oppose.
Thank you. All right, so now, go. Did you want to?
Answer? Yeah. My answer is no, and this is actually something I already put on my website. I understand I am fundraising. I am running a campaign. I need money for that. From day one, I've been clear about where that money is going to come from, is going to drive me, and I've made it clear I'm not taking any money from commercial landlords, from real estate developers, and from shadow big money PACs. That's been a commitment that I've made on my website and told folks about. I actually went to the annual fundraiser for the Leadership Council Fund, and I asked every single person who was going in whether they wanted to explain why they were there. And every one of them, including my opponent, Danny Kelly, refused to answer because they know they're not doing something that's right. So for me, the answer is a clear no. And I would urge everyone who is here and who is running to refuse to take money from it, and not only that, to work on taking that fund out when we get into office. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go into closing statements. Each candidate has 1 minute. I guess we'll start with you, Lesa.
I don't think Mike got to answer.
Okay. Lesa?
Hello? Okay. Yes, I just want to say that my purpose and passion for running for Ward 1 City Council is because it started back many years ago when I live also in Ward 1, and I live in the Village. I don't know, too many people don't know where the Village is. It's a little tucked away city within Cleveland. We ordinarily was not a part of Cleveland, but we migrated into Cleveland in the 1900s. But my journey began when my son and I were in the bedroom, and a stray bullet came through my window. And the bullet was just a little inch away from his head. And that began my journey for activism and wanting to be a part of council, because changes need to be made. We need safer neighborhoods, and we also need for our dollars to go back into our neighborhoods with transparency along with it.
Thank you.
In closing, I stepped up because I don't want to complain, because my issues on my street by being New Street are minimum. But when I look at my community, which means people that have common unity, we're not able to unite because of our living conditions. My bottom line thing is people is a lifestyle for me. I've been doing it, and I will continue to do it. And this is what I love, and it's just like waking up and thinking about others and my own family and self, and I want the best for all of us. So with that being said, we have an opportunity to do things. There's not a lack of resources. We don't collaborate like we used to in the 80s and the 90s and work with people that can help us get to the end result. So the bottom line is get creative, get active, get moving, because this is what I told the mayor at the mayor night out. I don't have to bring 50 people with me. I am the power of one. Thank you.
Thank you.
For me, in closing, this is Councilwoman Deborah Gray in Ward 4. When I came out and started advocating to be an activist, and also to understand what the community was doing for our residents. So when I stepped up and started going to meetings, started going to council meetings, started going to safety meetings, started integrating myself in the school system, started learning what the entities, were supposed to be doing for our community as giving us resources. That is a milestone to understand what battle do you want to fight, how you want to engage to be the partnership in your community. So you have to step up, stand up, and do the part that you want to do, because you are an investor in your community. You have to fight for your community and stop complaining. Let's
Thank
work
you.
together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to have me here. Thank you for listening in. It has been truly an honor to be here. In closing, what I would say is some basic things. One, as a physician, I took care of my patients. As a servant leader, I took care of my team members. And as city council member, I will take care of the people. And we need to realize that the people are first in what we do. It is not the corporations, it is not the billionaires, it is not downtown, it is our neighborhoods and the people that have made Cleveland great. And if we do that really well in taking care of our people, our neighborhoods, and our small businesses, the city will thrive again. We will see population increase, we will see things get better, rather than the trend what we've seen so far: water line main breaks, horrible roads, schools that aren't doing well, safety issues all over. We're not living in the city that we deserve. We deserve better, and that's why I'm running, because what I've seen from city council
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank again everybody who's here on the table in the front of the dais up here. I want to thank all of you who are here in attendance. As I said before, it's about becoming stakeholders. It's easy to armchair quarterback. It's another thing to stand under center and take the ball. I take the ball every day. Every day I represent my constituents, as I've demonstrated in my 12 consecutive terms in Cleveland City Council. Elected overwhelmingly, not even close, overwhelmingly. Please stay involved, and I will put my legislative record, my attendance record, and my voting record against anyone who's ever served in the Cleveland City Council. Thank you. God bless all.
Thank you so much.
My name's Sanmay Shah, and I'm really excited to bring new actual change to city government and to City Hall. I'm committed to actually serving the people. As a union organizer, I've shown that I have the courage to speak truth to power. And this is what this position is going to require. It's going to require us to speak truth to power and be willing to fight to make this city work for the working class. For far too long, our City Hall has not worked for the poor people or the working class of our neighborhoods. And if we're going to change that, we need to actually get involved and elect new people. And it's not going to be the status quo, but rather the new folks that are going to change that. And I'm excited to be running for that. As a housing attorney, I represented my clients, and I'm excited to do that as well when I get to City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to thank the candidates. Give the candidates a hand, because they didn't have to come, right? You know, it's not an easy vocation to bid for, to compete for public service and then actually get there. And so just I want to just thank each and every one of you guys. Oh, did I run out of time? Okay, so I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out. And then also we're going to have like a 10-minute intermission where we get the other set of candidates up. Thank you so much. See you guys in 10.
And while we're on a break, we do have a video submission from candidate Rebecca Moorer. Go ahead and leave that up. Leave that up, Alex. So we're going to, in fairness to the candidates here, we are going to play it during the intermission time. And we also set the stipulation of 2 minutes, so we are going to stop the video at 2 minutes. We were pretty strict about that. So just we're going to put that on the screen, and then in 2 minutes it'll be over, and then we'll continue the 10-minute intermission. Thank you.
Hey everybody, Councilwoman Rebecca Moorer here. I'm so proud to currently serve Ward 12 on Cleveland City Council, and after the redistricting process, I'm running to represent today's Ward 5 under these new maps. I'm so sorry I can't be there for this Municipal Economic Policy Forum. It is such a critical topic. I want to start out by talking a little bit about like my ultimate North Star and kind of guiding principles when we think about these economic development questions. And for me, what it really boils down to is this question of power over versus power with. I think what we've seen historically in Cleveland economic development is this idea of power over. The head honchos at City Hall and billionaire NFL owners are gonna get to decide what's right for you, and you just have to take it. That's not how I roll. That's not how I want people to roll or how I want the city to work. I'm all about power with, which is the idea that we need to collaborate, we need to build community, we need to have buy-in from across our city for our big projects. And I wanna be clear, that doesn't mean that leaders kind of throw up their hands and say like, no, that's not for me. This really does take leadership and excellence and just clarity so that people know the options on the menu. But then it also results in, it needs listening so that the community can decide which of those options on that menu is the right thing for them. So again, if you learn one thing about me today, I want you to know that everywhere I go, everything I try to do, I am trying to build power with and not power over. Okay, so that's a big idea, but how does it actually play into the conversations? A great example for me are development deals. For too long, Cleveland has just said, we'll take any date to prom, anyone who wants to take us to prom, any developer who wants to do work in the city, we want you and we'll give you everything. No, it doesn't work like that. We do have areas of the city where we have what's called a financing gap. It just doesn't make sense for private money to come into our city and build new housing or even build a single family home because they can't get as much money out of the project as they put into it. That is a place where government subsidy is really important. But in hot markets where...
Hey everyone, if we could go ahead and find our seats, we're gonna go ahead and get started for the second half of tonight's candidate forum. Woo! Good. Okay, thank you all for being here. Most of you, I introduced myself earlier, but I will introduce myself again for the folks who I haven't met yet. My name is Eric, and I am glad to welcome you to the first ever Co-op Circle Cleveland City Council Candidate Forum, or CCCCCF. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Pilgrim UCC for hosting us, to the folks who've worked to bring this event together, to Miss Mickey with the food in the back. Let's hear from Miss Mickey one more time. We'll do that at least one more time. To our moderator, Travell Harp, and to all of you in attendance tonight, thank you. I will reintroduce co-op circles. Again, most of you already heard this, but bear with me because I want to make sure that our council candidates know who we are. So co-op circles is a coalition of co-ops and co-op supporting groups that is building a community of people who want to see co-ops thrive. Worker co-ops, housing co-ops, community-owned co-ops. We call that vision of an economic system grounded in cooperation rather than competition, the solidarity economy. It's part of a global movement for a more just economy. Groups that help steward co-op circles are Cleveland Owns, the Interreligious Task Force, Little Africa Food Cooperative, People's Plumbing, Rust Belt Riders, and the group that I'm part of, the Forest City Tech Company. And people from all across the city and many other organizations. So a quick show of hands, again. Could you raise your hand if you have attended a co-op circle before? Not including you tonight. Cool. Love to see it. Okay, again, tonight our goal is to build relationships between the local solidarity economy and the folks who will be serving the city as council members, to share the priorities and concerns of this co-op circle group with future members of city council, and to understand how future members of city council approach questions related to this topic. Ms. Mickey is kindly sharing food today. Let's hear it again for her. That's right. So please, there's food still available in the back. Please take your time to grab a plate if you'd like to and return to your seat. Again, there are exits back where you came in, as well as down this hall in case of emergency. Down this hall are restrooms here. I believe is there water in the back as well? If you need to, there's also water in the back if you need to freshen up that way. Please get comfortable, enjoy the conversation today, and after the forum, we will head over to an after party at Prosperity Social, which is just down the street. It's a short walk away. I will be leading the charge down there, so if you don't know where it is, just find me after. There's a table in the hallway with some candidate literature. Candidates are not allowed to campaign in the space, but they have literature that you can go ahead and grab if you're curious to learn more about the candidates tonight. To start, and then we are going to, I'm going to hand it over to our moderator, Travell Harp.
Hello, everyone. Y'all can speak back to me. And so how things going so far? That's good. All right, so my name is Travell Harp. I'm the executive director of Neighborhood Leadership Institute. That was another organization back in the day. But actually came across this community thing by over 20 years ago, and so I've been doing this work for like over 20 years. And our mission at Neighborhood Leadership Institute is to invest in people, develop leaders, and transform community. And so we call ourselves the Citadel for Grassroots Leaders. If you want more information, we're in the back. Now we're at this candidates forum and everything. I wanted to just kind of I talked about a couple of different facts about like the elections and everything. I kind of want to expound about it before we go in. And so just so you don't know, just in case if you didn't know, the city of Cleveland operates under a mayor-strong form of government, where the executive powers are vested in the mayor and the legislative powers are held by the elected members of city council, which are elected across the city by wards. Now, you guys already know because we already talked about it, right? So the population, I guess, in the 2020 census basically put us below 375,000 people, which made us have to go through, it triggered a provision within the charter to reduce the amount of council seats in wards in the city of Cleveland from 17 to 15. And so as of, I guess, the last time I checked, we had 43 candidates running for 15 seats. Now, one of the things I didn't know was that every 4 years on the odd year, our elections are not staggered. So all city council seats are available for election, or open for election, and the mayor's seat is open for election. So literally, this city can literally have a brand new government every 4 years because everything is brand new. Everything is, I guess, a competitive thing for every year, every 4 years. And so I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of things. So there are 15 wards. So the primary election, the way that it's held, right, is so if there's if there's 3 or more candidates running for election, right, then for a particular ward, then we have a primary. If there's 2 or less, then they go straight to the general election. And so I think we have about 10 wards that are actually going through a primary, and then everything's going to be met at the general election. And I believe there are 5 seats that are running unopposed. So I thought that was helpful facts for people to know, but just reiterate that you guys should vote, right? Amen? Can I say? Can I get an amen or something like that? All right, so without that being said, without more being said about that, so tonight's forum is an opportunity for candidates to share their views and outline their plans for addressing Cleveland's most pressing challenges, particularly around economic policy. Topics will include small business development, corporate responsibility, workers' rights, housing, and the city budget. This is a nonpartisan educational event. Many of the hosting organizations are 501c3, so we are prohibited from endorsing or opposing any candidates for public office. Now, here are a few ground rules. So, one, each candidate has 1 minute for opening remarks and 1 minute for closing comments. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. This is a forum, not a debate, so candidates must direct their comments to the moderator or the audience, not one another. So no fighting up here, y'all. You hear that? And so if time allows, written questions from the audience may be submitted. And so where are ushers at? Or the people? So they're going to be collecting. So if when you came in, if you have cards, write down your question and then raise your hand and they'll take it and then they'll ask the questions when we call on them. And then in order to cover a wide range of issues, some questions may be directed to only a specific group of candidates, like the east side versus the west side, that type of thing. However, we'll make sure that every candidate receives equal number of questions and comparable time to speak. To keep this event on schedule, I may respectfully step in to candidates if you go over time. And then also, just to know, because we kind of experienced this a little bit in the first session, if you're in the back, if you're talking, we can still hear you. Okay, so if you have to talk, just go out the room because we really want all the attention to be focused on what the candidates are saying. Also, how many people got a cell phone? Raise your cell phone up. Raise your cell phone up. You got social media? Can y'all do a selfie real quick and post that real quick? And then put it on silent. Okay, there you go. Amen, right? All right, so now we're going to begin this forum. We're going to start, I guess we're going to start at this end of the table with Chris Harsh to your 1 minute opener.
Great, the mic's on. They are on. Hey, everybody, my name's Chris Harsh. I represent Ward 13. It's the bulk of Old Brooklyn neighborhood between the zoo and Parma. I'm running for re-election, but I want to tell you real quick, I was 45 years old when I got sworn in for my first political job. I punched a clock for 30 years. And the bulk of my experience was in organizing. I was a community organizer with ACORN, the largest anti-poverty organization in America. While I worked there, we had the largest voter registration drive in the history of Ohio and put 250,000 new voters on the registration rolls. We raised minimum wage the last time it was raised in Ohio. We saved hundreds of people's homes from foreclosure. This is what I learned. This is how I learned about Cleveland. After that, I went over to a statewide coalition. We defeated Senate Bill 5, a Republican effort to end unions in Ohio. After that, I worked for the American Federation of Teachers, organizing charter school teachers into the first ever union in the state of Ohio. In my last election, I was outspent, but I am never outworked. And that's how I win. So thanks for having me here tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, cool. Hey, hi, everyone. I'm Austin. I'm running for Cleveland City Council here in the new Ward 7. That's this ward where we're at right now, Tremont, Ohio City, Detroit Shoreway, and the Flats. I'm from Cleveland. I grew up in a blue-collar, middle-class home. I'm now raising my own young family here in the near west side. I am a public servant at heart. I've had the really good fortune of serving my community as a lawyer and advisor inside Cleveland City Hall the last 3 years and change, working on big picture stuff, small picture stuff, including with Councilman Harsh over here. I'm trying to bring that experience, but pivot to the community where I live. I'm raising my family here, and it has to work. That's always going to be my number one priority. So housing, street safety, and making sure the basics are, your power gets turned on. That's my big priority. Looking forward to hearing from everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammed Faraj, and I'm running for Cleveland City Council in the new Ward 7. I'm a proud son of immigrants from Palestine. Growing up, my father taught me and my 7 siblings that freedom and liberty isn't just for those that agree with you. They also taught me that public service and the management of public programs is a sacred responsibility. After law school, I returned to Cleveland to pursue a career in anti-money laundering and compliance. And so my professional background is all about oversight, problem solving, and these are skills that I plan to bring to public office. I have 5 priorities: accessible city services, dependable infrastructure, reliable public safety, flexible development, and sustainable small business. This is a platform that strives to improve the everyday lives of every resident, a commitment that local government should be accessible, dependable, and reliable. And Cleveland's Ward 7 progress is driven by the residents, and they deserve a counselor that defines his role in being accessible and committed to understanding the problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's on. Hello, my name is Terry Wong. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here tonight. I'm running for the City Council seat in the new Ward 8. I'm an immigrant, a writer, a trained scientist, and a former community police commissioner. I'm running because I have suffered what you have all suffered. I know what it's like to live in a place where the rent keeps climbing and the bills keep piling up. I know what it's like to travel long distances just to get fresh food, to watch neighbors, especially our elders, leave because they can't afford to stay. In a city that believes in justice and equity, no one should have to beg for the basics. A safe, affordable home, fresh food close by, buses and streets that get us where we need to go, and schools that give every child a fair chance. That is what the local government is supposed to do with our tax dollars. But instead, City Hall gives our money to billionaires and luxury developers, while the neighborhoods where we live crumble and scrape by. What I intend to accomplish with Ward 8 is a map for.
Thank you. I am a creative and an entrepreneur, but most impressively, I am a professional volunteer person, and I do so multiple times a week. My name is Leon Meredith, and I've been doing that volunteer thing for 7 years now, like it's a job. And my community, the elders, the one got me into going after local government initiatives. They knew I had a unique mind with unique perspectives. They knew I knew how to make a roadmap so that we can make it past these cataclysms that's facing us right now. And I'd love to tell you more as we talk later. And I'm so thankful to meet you all. Thank you. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. My name is Alana Bell, candidate for the Ward 9 seat on Cleveland City Council, and I'm really excited to be here today. I am an artist, activist, and organizer from the Glenville neighborhood, the neighborhood I am seeking to represent, and I am really, really excited for this opportunity, not only because it's an opportunity for me to protect the neighborhood that I find home in, but also because it's an opportunity for me to take care of my neighbors. I have about 10 years of electoral organizing experience and about 15 years of on-the-ground community organizing experience. Thank you. I got a little bit of ADHD, y'all. I am so sorry. We're gonna work through it. But yes, I have millions of phone calls under my belt leading campaigns, field campaigns, hundreds of thousands of text messages, hundreds of thousands of doors, and many of those I made myself. Along with the door knocks and the phone calls and the text blasts, I'm sorry for those, by the way, but along with all of that communication, I also have experience serving the community directly.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Hudson. I'm running for City Council for the new Ward 11. I've lived in the Cadell neighborhood with my husband and our 2 kids since 2002. And for the past 10 years or so, I've been heavily involved in the community, starting with being the chair of our neighborhood's block club, where I led the fight to take away the liquor license of a very problematic store in our neighborhood. I also started a crowdfunding campaign to plant 8,000 daffodil bulbs on the railroad hillside, also in our neighborhood. And more recently, I've been involved in the fight to save Cadell Park and a fight to stop a gas station from being built immediately next to Cadell Park at the corner of Madison and West Boulevard. And I'm running for City Council to take the community building work that I've been doing in the Cadell neighborhood to the rest of the Ward 11 and to the City of Cleveland as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are we going to start with Elena Bell? Did I say that right? Alana Bell? Okay, so this is a question. Cleveland City Council members play a key role in shaping the city's laws, approving the budget, and directing public funds towards community priorities. The choices City Council make have a lasting impact on housing, economic development, public safety, and more. You got me? Okay, so if elected to City Council, what will your top legislative funding priorities be, both for your ward and for the city as a whole? And then what specific issues will you focus on, and what kinds of policies or investments do you believe are most urgently needed for the quality of life of Cleveland residents?
Awesome, thank you so much for the question. So I definitely feel like the budget is a reflection of our values and our priorities. So when I am looking at the needs of Ward 9 residents, housing is a primary issue that comes up. So when I'm looking at how I plan to navigate the city resources, establishing different housing units in Ward 9 and establishing programs that assist both renters and homeowners with sustainability practices is where I would start. There are a lot of new buildings that have been erected in Ward 9 that are primarily focusing on seniors, and I'm really, really glad because the existing buildings are crumbling, are fading, and our elders in Ward 9 are living in very unsafe conditions. So continuing the work there by protecting our elders, but also making sure that we're creating opportunities for folks across ages, across income levels, by prioritizing mixed income buildings, mixed income units. So that way we can have an area, we can have a ward where folks are living in nice properties, living in well-maintained communities, regardless of how much they make or how much they can afford. Can you repeat the second part of your question?
So what specific issues will you focus on, or what kind of policy or investments do you believe are most urgently needed to improve the quality of life of Cleveland residents?
Yeah, when it comes to the policy, establishing a citywide tenants union is one of the things that I'm really interested in, and something that my team has been looking in, my policy team has been looking in to see how feasible it is. I definitely feel like unions, both labor unions, nonprofit unions, tenant unions are a really easy way for us to protect each other and a really easy way for folks to advocate for themselves. And so establishing a citywide tenant union not only protects residents, especially renters, from folks who are out-of-state landlords that have been neglecting properties and all of those things, but even folks who are in-state that are not serving our communities well. And so that would be like my top priority. Yeah.
Thank you. Leon?
My first pressing issue in mind is to make sure we have a sense of self-dependency in my community. It's been too far going that we do not have a means to take care of ourselves. It's so much technology that's available. I know that Donald Trump happens to be our last president. This is a crumbling society, and it's important for me to understand that the most pressing issue is to make sure as many families as possible have the means to carry forward past this time that's coming. They even wrote a book about it. It's called 1896, The Last President of the United States, about a president named Trump. I know someone else has heard about it. I'm not even going to ask for hands. This is one of my most pressing issues, to fortify self-dependency for my community. What else is to fortify different programming in our community, because on my side of town, in Ward 8, the programming is not sufficient. A lot of things are beautiful on this side of town, but we have a lot of catching up to do. Many elders in my community dealing with housing. I have been structuring a certain initiative going forward. I'm not going to be detailed in revealing it, but it's very much so needed for our communities to make sure our families have more than sustainable housing. And this can be taken advantage of through many land bank endeavors and things. We have a lot of abandoned homes in my community. So these are the largest aspects.
Thank you so much. If you need me to repeat the question, let me know. Terry?
If you wouldn't mind repeating the
So if elected to council, what would your top legislative and funding priorities, both for your ward and the city as whole? What specific issues will you focus on? And what kinds of policies or investments do you believe are most urgently needed to improve the quality of life of Cleveland residents?
Thank you. So my, the broader kind of guiding force in my campaign and what I would do as a public official is to highlight and enact the essential role of local government in investing in communities. We see the federal government going up and down. But what is happening in Cleveland is not just because of Trump. It is half centuries of improper investment in all of the neighborhoods that's created massive inequality. And the one focus that I've honed in on when I thought about all the issues I see, that I've talked to with people in the ward, is the essential need for housing. Stable housing perpetuates everything. Perpetuates the ability to have families, perpetuates our children being able to get the education that they need. And Ward 8 is probably the most diverse ward, probably extremely representative of what is happening all over Cleveland. And I'm guessing about, I can't get the numbers because they're very hard to find, but probably half the ward is spending half of their income on either rent or mortgage. And the housing stock in Cleveland is, priced much below the median in the average in America. It's $90,000. That completely disincentivizes banks from giving mortgages. And that is why local government needs to step in, provide for those loans, buy public housing, fix it up, and then you can either rent it out or sell it. The only path forward, I think, is more investment from the local government. And the good news is I've looked into a lot of these services and structures. They're there, but they're not being properly funded. So I want to also say that we are in a crisis moment. We are, I think, pulled in different directions about emergencies, but we need to realize that empires crumble over decades, and you need somebody that can respond to the history and the...
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm running on 5 priorities that would inform the legislative priorities. That these are stemming from conversations that I'm having with the neighbors. Over the last 5 months, after nearly 4,000 doors knocked already, I've heard from countless residents and neighbors about what they want to see in their next city councilor. I've heard from young families in Duck Island who pulled together funds to support the installation of a brand new playground. I have heard from a gentleman right here in this neighborhood on Homden Avenue that shared with me that a politician hadn't knocked his door in over 30 years. I've heard from countless seniors, many who've spent their entire life, invested their entire lives here in Cleveland, and now can't afford to pay their property taxes, but they also can't afford to move anywhere else. I've also spoken with I visited with a woman who fought back tears explaining that how the infestation in her public housing complex is literally eating her alive. I have 5 priorities: accessible city services, dependable infrastructure, reliable public safety, flexible development, and sustainable small business. I think one of the things that I want to say in response to this question is I want to challenge the assumptions that our leaders make about what and who gets prioritized. I think that, I think every conversation that I have with leaders about how we spend our tax dollars or make strategic investments will need to have a clear and direct connection to improving the lives of the people who are actually contributing to the tax base. And I can't stress that enough. Seeing this firsthand was probably the...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Legislative and budgetary priorities. For me, it comes down to 3 main things, right? Housing, street safety, and of course the basics. On the housing front, there's a national crisis, there's a regional crisis, there's a citywide crisis. In Ward 7, where I'm running, these are some of the most housing market pressured homes in the region. It terrifies me on a couple fronts. One, kids who grew up here can't afford to live here anymore. Folks who are aging in place are scared about the future. And we're not going to be able to get out of this until we start building more homes in this community, homes that the entire neighborhood can afford to live in. So to me, that means yes to market rate, but yes to affordable, and yes to public housing as well. I would be very comfortable, legalizing triplexes and quadplexes, infill development, gentle density, having more of the kind of homes that Cleveland used to lead on, beautiful multifamily homes for folks from all walks of life that can stay in my community. What I want is houses that people can make into homes for every background possible. Second is street safety. I'm glad we have a speed table program now for the first time in Cleveland's history. That's great news. There's about 100 going around the city per year. That's about 3 per neighborhood per year. That's not enough. That's a budgetary priority for me. There's ways to speed up some of the approval processes as well. It would be a priority and really month one of taking council's seat here. And the third part for me is always going to be it's public sector capacity. It's getting the basics right. We live in a city with great needs and quite a large number of employees doing their darndest to provide for those needs. But we live here and it's tough, whether it's safety or code enforcement, snowplows, electricity, stuff goes wrong. And the more that we can invest in the folks who are making our city work, the better the city will run. That's my priority.
Thank you.
Okay. Legislative agenda. So just let's, for table setting, let's remember that the Cleveland City Council is a legislative body. Nothing gets done without a majority vote. So if anybody tells you they're going to go down there with a unilateral agenda and just get things done on their own, they're misleading you. There needs to be a majority support for any idea that gets passed through council. So with that said, I've knocked on 10,000 doors in Old Brooklyn, and I can tell you what the people in the neighborhood want me to do. They want us to invest more in Cleveland Public Power. They're tired of rolling brownouts. They're tired of losing power. They're tired of slowly reconnecting power when it's been disconnected. And we need to figure out how to invest more money in the publicly owned Cleveland Public Power. They also want better services on their streets. People, honestly, I hear this all the time. They're tired of potholes. We have a terrible freeze-thaw cycle in Cleveland. And they want us to put more money into just making sure that they get to and from work without damaging their car. And then the other city services, which are snow removal, trash removal, those types of bread and butter things. A lot of people have very contractual relationships with the city. They view themselves as taxpayers that expect services as a return for their taxes. And we have to understand that that's where people are. We serve people where they are, not where we want them to be. But on the other thing, let's talk about housing real quick, because, I'm sorry, for the tenants issue, I did introduce a legislation that got passed that puts $1 million towards tenant support, including building up tenant services into a tenant union. That's going through the United Way. But back to housing. I am a big proponent of modular housing. We are working on a program between City Council and the administration to bring a builder of modular housing into Cleveland. We've got a big spot over in Collinwood that GE donated where we could actually have an indoor 24/7 365-day-a-year factory that builds houses. And modular houses get built quicker, they get built at a lower price, and we can put them in the neighborhood. And these would be the types of houses that could be sold to people that want to move into Cleveland, but are also available to people that live here now. And yes, there are obstacles and hurdles that we need to address when it comes to financing, but this is the type of project that's really innovative because we need jobs and we need housing. And this is something that we've already got, support from the administration and City Council on, so I'll continue to work on that.
Thank you. Nikki?
Thank you. So regarding housing, I think one of the most important issues that we need to tackle as a city is the lead safety issue. Lead policy is a housing issue, and it actually, trickles down and affects, various other aspects of the city. In particular, safety, education, and, the health of our citizens, and it lasts for decades. So I would spend, one of my priorities if I'm elected to City Council, would be to, continue to address the city's lead crisis and to really, make that a priority. It is something that I heard about as I was knocking on doors. Most of the residents in our city who rent, they rent from private landlords. And right now, there is an effort to make our homes lead-free and safe. However, it's a burdensome process for small landlords in particular. So we need to find out, why it is such a burdensome process and correct it. Because what's happening is the small landlords are being forced out. And then the only people left are these out-of-state LLCs or these, big corporations that are buying up all the houses, and they're raising the rent on people. It's not a sustainable practice, what we have right now. And so when you have, like I've seen in my neighborhood, people across the street that have been gentrified out of our neighborhood, it's because the small landlords have felt like they need to sell. And so we need to correct the situation by finally addressing the lead crisis in our city. Another priority of mine would be to
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. All right, so this next question is going to begin with Leon Meredith. So it says, economic development refers to people given a voice in economic institutions that affect their daily lives. For example, worker owning the business where they're employed, tenants co-owning their apartment buildings, or community jointly owning local grocery stores. What role do you believe economic democracy could play in Cleveland's future? And as a city council member, what kind of economic development opportunities would you advocate to support to support more inclusive, community-driven growth?
I support manufacturing and production because primarily in my community, we're not producing much at all. So that's head on my list. I could say a few fields, but first we need to produce things that produce income for our people. Why not use some of our tax dollars for that? We are faced with a lot of things that's coming, as some candidates are referencing to also. We always say we want change, but do we really? We keep talking the same rhetoric, the same questions, the same answers, and we mimic these same things like puppets to see if we can gain the favor of the voters. But we ignoring the facts, the signs are laid out in front of us. Like when the Twin Towers came down. Everyone remember that, right? No answer, nobody? Y'all don't remember the two Twin Towers, 9/11. Well, it was on $3 bills, the 5, the 10, and the 20. This was the higher levels of people giving messages to people in the know. You fold the bills a certain way, and you see the message. Anyone know? Maybe not. Maybe you guys can look it up. Look on the $100 bill and you will see what's next. We have to prepare and fortify our communities. That's top of the list for me. I want as many family lineages to make it. It's about to be a reset, and we can't keep ignoring the fact of what's going on and what's about to happen. I thank you for your attentiveness. If not, for the next question, I plan to leave, but I will not do this. I love you, and we need to prepare.
Thank you. And just for any of the candidates, if you need me to reread the questions, just ask. Terry?
Thank you. Could you read the question again, just so I can?
So what role do you believe economic democracy could play in Cleveland's future? As a city council member, what kinds of economic opportunities would you advocate for to support more inclusive, community-driven growth, like co-ops and stuff like that?
Thank you. So I guess we need to think about what we mean by democracy. I'm much more of a structuralist and materialist about this. I believe in concrete strategies and concrete resources for people. So co-ops that you guys support are a great idea. They've worked all over the world. The problem here in Cleveland for any type of cooperative economic endeavor is the financing. And that is, again, why I advocate that local government needs to provide that financing. As you know, I understand that people are talking about jobs and bringing companies in, but let's face one reality. Companies are driven by profit. They go into a community if they can make profit. And if the community is poor, if the community is underserved in education, they will not go there. A prime example of this is Amazon. Amazon went to New York not because of the $3 billion subsidies they got. They chose New York because it has a talented and effective workforce, infrastructure, public transportation. And that is why I think to really rebuild what Cleveland lost in the deindustrialization, you need to focus on the core tenets of shelter, affordable housing, community-owned grocery stores. I think the city should subsidize, and the city should guarantee a minimum income for these grocery stores so they're incentivized to stay in underserved food desert communities, and then transportation and education. So we really have to think about how we build. Of course, we want jobs. If jobs go towards, and industry goes towards places with people that can participate in the workforce. Prime example of that, I think $2 billion was given to Intel to build a plant in Columbus, and now they're not going to be able to build the plant until 2031 because they don't have the people that are highly skilled to do that work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We need to be electing leaders that really embody a more equitable frame of mind. And I think my approach to economic development, prioritizes three commitments: increased oversight of our tax increment financing agreements, more equitable community benefits agreements as well, and strong labor. These three commitments allow us to navigate a lot of the issues that often play out in the near west side. And I use the example of the playground in my initial example because when residents are having to pool together funds to support the installation of a public playground when it's sitting right next to a larger TIF development project, it makes you wonder, why wasn't that part of the negotiated community benefits agreements? So, and this is something it makes me feel that we aren't negotiating the best possible terms out of these types of agreements when really, we really need to do a better job prioritizing, one, oversight of tax increment financing agreements, because it's clear that TIF agreements are part of the larger development strategy, and which is fine. But we really need to understand, what our role is. I think that an individual counselor's ability to outright prevent or stop a TIF agreement is not really, that's not really. But we do have an opportunity to negotiate more equitable community benefits agreements, and I think that definitely needs to be part of the strategy. And finally, we need to prioritize union apprenticeships and strong workforce development. Cleveland was built. It was built and runs on a commitment to labor, and that's a legacy that I intend to.
Thank you.
That's right. The future for economic development, for economic democracy in this city is through the unions. Unions are economically democratic institutions. My background, my family, my dad was a crane operator in Local 18, union steward for 15 years. His brother's still a crane operator for over 40 years. Their dad, I think, was a founding member of Local 18 way back in the day. The unions built this town. The unions made my family middle class. We're not well-off people. We're from the hills of West Virginia for the most part. So it's extremely clear to me that the only way forward is to continue to invest in our unions here in the city. I'll say the work is hard, but the amount of when you get time and a half for working 70-hour weeks, you can provide a middle-class life for your family. You can, no matter where you come from. I think I was really proud at City Hall to work on a couple pro-union initiatives, implementing the first labor peace agreement ever in I guess it was a CBA, implementing a requirement that all city projects that are built have to be built by union labor, working on gender pay equity legislation with a vast array of stakeholders to bring about right now, I think it's as of October, employers won't be able to ask about your past salary histories here in the city of Cleveland. When they do, they usually try to bake in past salary discrimination, giving you a 5% raise on a salary that wasn't fair in the first place, just bakes in that discrimination. We need to empower our workers. The affordability crisis that we're experiencing in Cleveland, half of that's because things are too expensive, namely housing, but half of it is, of course, because our wages are so dramatically low here in the city of Cleveland. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
We're still going. All right, economic democracy, right? That was the question?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my ears are open 24 hours a day. I don't even know how to turn them off. I listen to all ideas, and I don't think I've ever had a good idea myself. I only conduit other people's good ideas. I don't think I've ever come up with anything on my own. For instance, the $1 million we put towards the tenants union organizing effort was somebody else's idea, and they said, hey, Chris, you should figure out how to do this, and we did, and that money is going to the United Way, and if you want to know why it's going to the United Way for distribution, the answer, again, is that the City Council is a legislative branch, and it needs to get a popular majority vote. And United Way was the group that people supported and believed and trusted enough to entrust this money to. But I'll give you another example. A friend called me when I was newly elected and said, Chris, there's something called medical debt relief, and you should get with this organization that can actually relieve people's medical debt. So I looked into it. The first piece of legislation I ever introduced in City Council was medical debt relief. And we took $1.9 million in ARPA funds, and we worked with this group called Undo Medical Debt. And they relieved, we thought it was going to relieve $50 million we thought it was going to relieve $50 million in medical debt for 50,000 Clevelanders. Instead, it relieved $165 million in medical debt for 160,000 Cleveland families. And that is economic democracy, because these folks were simply, they fell underneath a certain income bracket, and they were Cleveland residents, and they had their debt wiped out. And these letters went out to people, and as I'm out there in the streets and the neighborhoods, I still meet people that got these letters, right? We were able to help people with a basic issue. We were able to help them relieve some medical debt and reduce the monkey on their back and improve some of their credit scores. And actually, that only cost $1.2 million. So it came in better than we expected and for less money. But if you want to have democracy, you've got to have your ears open at all times. And I have been having monthly ward meetings since getting elected. I think I'm the only council member that does this every single month like clockwork. The second Wednesday of every month, 6 p.m. at Estherbrook, I'll be holding my 43rd consecutive ward meeting next month. So you can call me, you can email me. I'm always listening, and I appreciate
Thank you so
your good
much.
idea.
So for me, thinking about economic democracy and how to get the most effective feedback from residents and in particular from businesses and small businesses, I think about, the groups that are hosting this forum tonight and co-ops. Co-ops are valuable, people on the ground. So there's a lot of information that co-ops can give council members to inform our policymaking decisions. And so that is a way that I would like to inform my decision making is by speaking to people, especially involved in co-ops and in small business owners and merchants associations, which is something that I hope to help form if elected to City Council, so that I can make the most informed decisions for the people who those decisions will affect. And in particular, co-ops are an important asset, and we should support them just like we support small businesses. And they're committed to working for the public good, but also while working through real world challenges that small businesses encounter. And so that's valuable information and information that I would like to learn about and use. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm a huge fan of co-ops. Any sort of collaborative space where people can work together to solve a problem is kind of where my bread and butter is as an organizer. It's where my bread and butter is as an organizer, but also as a resident of the city of Cleveland, I definitely have seen really strong examples, really firm examples of how cooperative economics can work. Not even just on the co-op business owner model where the employees own the businesses, tenants own the buildings, but also when we're looking at the ideas and concepts of mutual aid and resource distribution. I am not sure what it could look like, so please don't ask follow-up questions, but I would love the idea of finding a way to incentivize folks who have extra to participate in mutual aid resources. We are in a position where folks are not able to trust what's happening in the White House. We're not really able to trust what's happening in the State House, but we should be able to trust our neighbors. And if we're in a position where we're galvanizing community around one another, we should be able to trust that our neighbors who have extra feel confident and feel confident and comfortable in giving that extra to those who don't have it, not only for their own reasons, depending on what those incentives looks like, but also there is this phrase, I'm blanking on the origins, but there is a phrase that says, if your neighbor is hungry, you are not safe. And I firmly believe that is true. When we look at what safety looks like, when we look at what health looks like, when we look at what education looks like, it is the success of our neighbors that strengthens our own success and the success of our families. And so not only do we find success by strengthening co-ops and the business models and the tenant models, we also find success in neighbors helping neighbors be healthy.
Thank you so much. So this next question is for Terry Wang. We're going to begin with you, but I'm going to defer back to next questions. Eric?
Hello, thank you. Our first question is for everybody. How can Cleveland provide food security to school children after school is out?
See, food security for everyone is one of the pillars, goals of my campaign. I've looked into the housing. I'm developing a plan for the food security. And these are things not just in neighborhoods that you would typically think have food deserts, but some place like Asiatown. As we all know, the Dave's Supermarket moved out of that area of town, and they no longer have a full-service grocery store there. You have Asian markets, but those depend on certain distribution chains and supply chains, so they don't sell milk and eggs and meat and things like that. And the more I thought about it, and I've already talked about it, how do you incentivize a grocery store to be in neighborhoods that are distressed? I think probably the only model that will work at this point, because some of our neighborhoods are in severe distress. I mean, people are buying food at Family Dollars, and the Family Dollars are closing. And everything just kind of cascades. So you don't have the food, you don't have the housing, then the public safety decreases, and people are driven out of these neighborhoods, either by a luxury development or just sheer survival. So the thought I have for that is to, again, you have to build structures. It is not enough. I hear a lot of great ideas here, but they almost, if I, with some apologies to some of my other people here, we can't settle anymore for Band-Aids. We have to build systemic solutions that actually work for people. So with the food security for children, I would build city-maintained, city-owned grocery stores, that the city would guarantee a minimum income for those grocery stores so that they are incentivized to stay in those neighborhoods. It would probably take about $1 million to build these grocery stores. And since we're giving so much money to nations, I think.
Thank you. Mohammed, you're next.
Thank you. You know, I think when I think of this question, I think about you know, one of the biggest roles of local government is to keep folks safe and to make sure that we are doing everything that we need to be doing to, you know, not only prioritize our residents, but also take special care over, you know, our society's most vulnerable. And I also think that we need, as you know, the city of Cleveland cannot afford to miss the mark anymore. I feel like we are at such a critical point, and we just can't. We need to move forward together. And when I think about, like, you know, I grew up working in the city of Cleveland, and I remember probably 15 years ago now when the decision to bring Walmart to town was, you know, was being debated in the community. I remember residents were up in arms about the impact that it was going to have on the community. And I remember at the time the city, you know, they did it anyway. I know that there was some, you know, market study done to understand what particular communities were going to be impacted, and there was going to be some, you know, community benefits that you know, were supposed to mitigate some of that harm. But here we are, decades later, and you see a lot of the impact those policy decisions had on our community, and small businesses, dozens of small businesses are closed. And I know that, we had a lot of other issues, including, crime and a lot of other issues at that time as well. But, we weren't talking about things like food deserts in that time. And I think that it's important to understand when we want to move forward from this place, we have to understand how we got here as well. So I do think that's important.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. That's a tough question. My understanding is the city of Cleveland probably doesn't do much in the food realm at the moment. The school district has, as we know, free breakfast and lunch programs that were provided through a series of funding streams. I don't have an easy answer to how kids get fed in this city, and I don't know if any of us will. The challenge for me is there's just not enough money to go around, not in our own community. This is why state politics is just as important as city politics. We'll never fix, for example, the property tax debacle that we're all experiencing without state intervention. And you look at states like Minnesota that had recently passed a universal school lunch program from the state, because that's the entity that has the resources to really expand a program like that. It's not right, the way that our funding streams work for education in the city of Cleveland, that the community with the greatest needs are also expected to pay the greatest amount, because we don't have that kind of money. This is not a solution to the problem, but this is an acknowledgement of how the path forward goes, that we have to continue to push at the state level. My goal on city council is to use the soapbox, the platform, to continue to advocate for things at the state level whenever possible. I don't know if there's Republicans interested in feeding kids in Cleveland. I'm skeptical, but you know what? Like, someone needs to be talking about it, and just like 10,000 other issues that we need to fix at the State House. So vote in your state elections too next year, folks.
Thank you.
All right. So, food insecurity after school. So, I have 3 children. They all go to public school. They all go to CMSD. They all go to school on downtown at 21st and Payne, right across the street from the women's shelter. So I'm down there quite frequently, and I'm also a parent volunteer at my kids' school, so I'm actually in the school at least once a week. The kids get free breakfast, they get free lunch. Every kid in CMSD gets free breakfast and free lunch. There's a snack bin. Kids are allowed to leave the school with food. And I think the issue in Cleveland is probably more to do with bad diets than malnutrition. I think kids are eating. I have a question about, are they always eating healthy foods? And what do they have access to in the neighborhood? But look, I just want to talk about CMSD because City Council has no control over CMSD, and we should all be clear about that. This has been my greatest frustration as a member of City Council. City Council has absolutely nothing to do with their budget or how they're run. It is entirely under mayoral control. The mayor appoints the CEO of CMSD and appoints every single board member of CMSD, okay? CMSD is entirely run by the mayor. As a Cleveland parent of public school kids, I have no say in my children's education. As a council member in the city of Cleveland, I have no say in my kids' public education. In fact, the only time I have a say in my kids' public education is when I vote for mayor. And to me, that's highly undemocratic. And I have been talking about bringing back an elected school board. And I know that people don't, this is a good idea, right? But I know that people in Columbus don't like this idea because when we had an elected school board, the schools were careening into oblivion. And so they said they came in with state takeover. And the compromise was the Cleveland plan where the mayor had control instead of the state. What we could do is we could have a partially elected school board and a partially appointed. And as a matter of fact, you could give the mayor 4 appointments and give the people 3 elections. You could even do it far east, a far west, and a central. Allow people to talk about school issues because people don't know how the schools are run unless your kids are actively in the school right now. And because nobody campaigns on school issues, nobody talks about school issues. So I would like to see this happen, but it has to happen in Columbus. Again, we have to recognize the very real limitations of the office that we're seeking. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to acknowledge that City Council does have, limited ability to influence this, but I would like to, do whatever I can to make sure that kids are able to eat. And, I would do that regardless of being elected to City Council, just, as a mother and a community member, I want to make sure that kids have access to food. There are some mutual aid organizations in like Food Not Bombs and, providing ways for people to connect with one another so that excess food doesn't make its way into landfills. And, as a city council member, I would like to use my, platform to make sure that resources like that are elevated and that more people know about them. I would also like to, raise awareness about community gardens and the ability to grow your own food in the city. We're talking about the summer when kids are out of school, so kids can, help grow food and have access to healthy vegetables and fresh fruits. And, that is another way that kids can have access to food. And I do think that as a city council member, I would have an ability to influence the amount of community gardens in the ward and promote and develop new community gardens where there aren't any, perhaps on vacant lots, and just provide better access to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard an array of answers. Do you mind repeating the question one more time?
Can you guys repeat the question?
Test. Thank you. How can Cleveland provide food security to children at schools and out?
Okay. So a lot of the rec centers around the city have recently been renamed or recalled recreation and resource centers. Most of these rec centers also have relationships with the food bank. Many of them do not utilize this relationship as deeply as they could. Shout out to Food Not Bombs, shout out to the People's Distro, shout out to People Feeding People Akron. Mutual aid and resource distribution is really going to be how we sustain and how we take care of the families around us. I think there is an opportunity for us to take care of the families in our neighborhood by bringing food directly to the neighborhood. There are food apartheids across the city, and I use apartheid. Deserts are naturally occurring, and what's happening with food is not a natural thing. We are being denied systemically. It is falling in line with redlining and all of those things that happen across the city. So this is strategic, not natural. But if we utilize the relationships that the recreation and resource centers have with the food bank in a greater level, we have an opportunity to feed families. And what that could look like is recreating a lot of what organizations like PFP, the People's Distro, Food Not Bomb, does by allowing all of the excess or allowing all of the food from the food bank to be available, also partnering with local grocery stores or the local grocery stores, and making sure that they are keeping track of expiration dates, deadlines, all of those fun things, so that they are preemptively giving their extra food to the people before they go bad. So as opposed to waiting until the day of and tossing things out or denying the people who work in the building, who work in the grocery stores, who work in these facilities, access to the clean foods, we have an opportunity to incentivize these grocery stores to take care of the families by giving food away before it goes bad.
Thank you.
Food insecurities. I spoke about programming. This is one of the major things I believe that we need in our community. Currently, in 3 rec centers, I have a program I created. Actually, it's a curriculum. It's called Master Self. And I help children understand their body, learn how to do physical fitness, and learn how these generational curses, heart attack, obesity, strokes, high blood pressure, are all preventable diseases. And one of the major components is we eat too much too often. I think that we all can benefit from learning how to fast, intermittent fasting, learning how these things extend lifespans. And I help children understand we don't need as much food as we think we need. And with saving this money as families, as children, they start to get healthier, live longer, and have a lot of extra money to reallocate to build their community, to build levels of self-dependency. So this is how I deal with food insecurities. We eating too much garbage too often. Thank you.
Thank you. So this question is going to start with Mr. Muhammad. So it says, In recent years, a significant share of homes sold in Cleveland's east side, nearly half have been purchased by speculative investors, many operating as out-of-town LLCs. In response, grassroots organizations across the city are working to create models of permanently affordable, community-controlled housing and land. These efforts include initiatives like the Near West and Huff Community Land Trust, Cleveland Owns, and the new citywide Green Space Land Trust. What role do you believe non-speculative, community-led models of land and housing should play in Cleveland's future? And how should the city engage with and support these initiatives?
Thank you for the question. I think as part of my public safety priority, I really plan to amplify a commitment to affordable housing, certainly, but also certainly community organizing and thriving block clubs and organizations like you're talking about that are really, when I think about the ward, one thing that, and even the community in Cleveland, the progress is driven by the residents in the city by far. They are the ones sort of driving the city forward in ways that the city can't do on its own, and they are confronting a lot of the biggest issues when it comes to housing insecurity, hunger, environmental issues. And I think that it's so incredibly important that we continue to remain accessible to the community and we empower the community. So I absolutely support these initiatives. I think that it's really important to work with the community who truly understand and center a lot of the root causes of a lot of the complex challenges that we have. And I think that certainly that we need to, we definitely need to, again, work alongside with our community partners to address a lot of the issues in the community.
Thank you.
There we go. Hey, I love this question. So on one hand, the city of Cleveland owns about 18,000 residential parcels spread throughout the city. I would love to see more of those turned into housing, full stop, and I'd love to see more community land trust models used for those housing, where the city or the public will own the underlying land, the most valuable asset, and developers could build on top. That way the city could control, or the public could control, the expense of those properties. As Councilman Harsh will always say, it takes a vote of council, and et cetera, but this is something I'm very excited about. I think number two, the new Ward 7 where I'm running has three really interesting CDCs: high capacity, Northwest Neighborhoods, Ohio City Inc., Tremont West, and the fourth in Flats Forward. The Flats Forward doesn't do a lot for residents, but the first three are deeply involved in the housing markets here. I'm the former co-chair of my block club, south of Jefferson, here in Tremont, right around the corner. And the amount of interaction we had on housing questions with the CDCs to maintain community control of prices in our neighborhoods was, it was the highlight of my tenure there. This Northwest Neighborhoods is the landlord. They own about 350 affordable housing units spread throughout the city. Ohio City Inc. And Tremont West, as you mentioned, jointly run Near West Land Trust, which I think only has about 14 units, but I'd love to find ways to expand their portfolio. Ohio City Inc. also owns and operates a senior center in Franklin. These are affordable units that are under a form of public control already. As a council member, I plan to invest and deeply engage with the CDCs in order to make sure that these housing units are high quality, continue to be affordable, and responsive to community needs.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I've only got 2 minutes to talk about this. This is why I came here tonight, all right? I'm gonna try to cram this into 2 minutes. Hear me, please. Nonprofit trailer parks, okay? The largest, most successful land trust in the city of Cleveland is in Old Brooklyn. It's called Brooklyn Acres. It straddles the border between the city of Cleveland and the city of Brooklyn. And they have been there since after World War II. They actually collectively bought their government projects after the war, and they manage it themselves, and they run it. And you can talk to Rob down there. He's the guy in charge of Brooklyn Acres. They are in their third generation of ownership, and they are struggling to get people involved. The people that live there just want somebody else to take care of it, right? They have a really hard time getting people involved in this. But The difference between a land trust and a trailer park, right, is that the trailer park is owned privately by an individual that controls the land, and then you buy the actual unit that sits on the land, which means you can finance your own unit, which means you don't need $1 bajillion of overhead to get every single house in the place built. Right, you just own the land. So look at the Kmart on 65th on West 65th in between Denison and Storer. Right, that thing's been vacant for decades. Knocking that down, when we get a modular housing manufacturer in the city of Cleveland, the smallest module they make is 320 square foot. They will make a 640 square foot module that you can buy for under $100,000. Now, you want to put that in a place where we can actually sell those to people who can get. People get cars financed, right, for $75,000. You could get a whole house financed, and if they own the land, then all you have to do is pay a modest lot fee so that they do the plowing and stuff. This is an actual economic model that works all over America and all over rural America. People have figured out that these housing models work. There's a reason that people live in the country so cheap, right? We just don't allow that type of housing construction in the city of Cleveland, and we're changing those building and housing restrictions to allow that to happen. So trusts are great, but they are generational efforts and they are forever commitments. Whoever works on the trust, that's all they do for the rest of their life, and that's why they tend to fail. But if you had a nonprofit trailer park, you could actually run for the interest of the community and then let the people buy their own properties.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Okay, so let me see. Gotta find it again. Okay, it says, so what do you, so I'll read the whole thing. So in recent years, significant shares of homes are sold, particularly on the east side. Nearly half have been purchased by speculative investors. Many operating as out-of-town LLCs. In response, grassroots organizations across the city are working to create models of permanently affordable, community-controlled housing and land. These efforts include initiatives like the Near West and Huff Community Land Trust, Cleveland Owns, and a new citywide green space land trust. What role do you believe non-speculative, community-led models of land and housing should play in Cleveland's future? And how should the city engage to support these initiatives?
Thank you for reading that again. I recently resigned my seat on the board of Northwest Neighborhood CDC, and so I know how important it is that we keep affordable housing in our communities, many of which, like the community that I live in, are rapidly gentrifying. And so I see land trusts as another tool that the city can use in these communities to help folks stay in their homes or in their neighborhoods when they otherwise would be priced out. And so it is important to use every available tool that we have, and I see land trusts as another tool that the city can use in order to keep housing affordable and keep people in the neighborhoods that they want to stay in.
Thank you.
So this specific question is an area that I need to do more research on, more work on, so I can have like a fully informed answer. So I do not have a specific answer to that question, but I will say I am watching Glenville be gentrified. I am also watching and listening to neighbors who are talking about how their taxes have quadrupled. I am listening and talking to people who have had to sell their grandmother's homes that have been in their families for generations, watching people who I've known since childhood talk about how they cannot move back home, they cannot move back to where we grew up because of how much it costs. And part of my hesitation with leaning in and trying to answer is that I am not sure what new builds, regardless of who the owner of the land is, how that would impact the prices of the people who are already there. So I want to do more research before I give a fully fleshed out answer and say that regardless of what decisions are made, I am always in favor of keeping people in the neighborhoods that they are from if that is where they want to stay. I am always in favor of making sure that we are making decisions that are economically sound and reasonable and responsible for the residents who are in those neighborhoods.
Thank you.
How do I not give so much information on this topic? This is one of my big three. Currently, I've been working on a certain project, actually with somebody in audience, Mr. Harry right there. And now I'm tied in two local CDCs for Mecos and Bell Bird and Carr. And to connect with different other community groups that's especially doing things for elders, because we have a lot of elders in our communities that's having trouble maintaining their households. The structure of their house is outdated. Many families are not assisting them in making certain upgrades. How do I not give so much information? I really think that we have so many abandoned, dilapidated homes that are on the city's land bank that new creative initiatives must come to the forefront. I have a very elaborate one, and I'm going to do all I can not to give any tidbits, because as I said, it is one of my big 3 initiatives. It's moving beautifully. Some things happened actually this Sunday where I had a meeting, and I wholeheartedly know that it's going to work, whether I get in office or not. What more can I say? I'm a thinking man, and it's a structured plan in motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to maybe stir things up a little bit. Let's step back. Everybody wants the right to affordable housing, food, everything. But historically, we know how those ends are achieved. It's either when you have power or money, right? One of the things that you can do to make housing more affordable is to simply increase the minimum wage. We haven't talked about that at all. And I don't think that it's fair to say that council doesn't have power and rely on the shield of a strong mayor government. Council holds the power to the budget. Council can make laws. It can make laws for minimum wage. It can make laws to take care of out-of-town LLCs buying up these homes, and it can even intervene on developing programs that the city itself buys these dilapidated properties, abandoned properties, rehabilitate them, and then rent them out. And that would certainly act as an economic force that would keep the rental units around it at a lower cost. So I think that we really need to think about, the community land banks. I'm not sure if that necessarily means that the city's participation is full. And another thing I want to highlight, and maybe it's the elephant in the room, our CDCs and our nonprofit system have massive levels of corruption. Massive. And I feel like sometimes maybe it's a way to just put a barrier and say, oh, it's the CDC's fault. It is the nonprofit's fault. We don't have any, say in all this. City council is a legislative body. It can make laws, it holds the budget. And another thing about the budget, I was on the Community Police Commission. $400 million is being spent on public safety. $300,000 to buy police drones while our fire department has no drones at all. It is about setting priorities and moving the money.
Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to prepare for closing statements. And so, Austin, you up? Everybody has 1 minute.
All right, we're out of questions. That's a shame. Hey guys, I'm Austin Davis. I'm running for Ward 7 here. My priorities I'm going to keep coming back to are making housing more affordable in this community by building more of every kind that's available to ensure that our community maintains its vibrancy as we continue into the 21st century. I think it's a good time to be a Clevelander. I'm excited to be here in Cleveland, but we got to make sure that market forces don't wipe out the amazing culture that we have locally. Second thing is always going to be street safety for me. We didn't talk about this enough, but we did have 603 pedestrian or bike crashes last year. It's not an economic development priority, but I'm going to keep bringing it up because there's a disproportionate amount of those in my neighborhood, and I want to stop seeing them. And the third is, of course, one of our biggest economic development strategies can be investing in families that live here and individuals that live here and providing high-quality public services to those folks who will then spend their money in our community. I want to empower them to feel comfortable staying in the city of Cleveland by supporting high-quality public services. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, 1 minute.
All right, I have to acknowledge and thank Food Not Bombs for making the food here tonight. I started at Food Not Bombs in Canton back when I lived there, and when I came to Cleveland, the first thing I did was hook up with a local F&B, and I spent 5 years of my life sharing food with the homeless community in public square and getting to know Cleveland first and foremost from the people that sleep on our streets. So thank you for the work that you all do. So I would just say this as a closing remark. It's very fashionable in politics right now to get people pissed. Everybody running for office wants to make everybody mad, because once you're mad, they feel like they can get you into their camp and get you to vote for them. But we actually have real work to do, and real work requires real solutions. And talk to people about what their actual real solutions are to our problems, because at the end of the day, we can do things, but we can't live in fantasy world. So my name is Chris Harsh. I'm running for Ward 4. I stand on the work that I've done. You can judge me by what I've already accomplished, and I can tell you that I'm going to get more of that in my next turn. So if you live in Old Brooklyn in Ward 4 on November 4th, vote like you mean it and vote harsh.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, just to remind you, my name is Nikki Hudson. I'm running in the new Ward 11. It stretches from the lake all the way south to the zoo in Old Brooklyn. And my platform consists of 3 primary areas: strong neighborhoods, safe neighborhoods, and good governance. And in particular, the reason why I decided to run is because I felt like the voices of ordinary citizens weren't being heard at City Hall. And so that is a priority of mine, is to make sure that residents are being heard and that their voices are, being taken into consideration in the policies that City Council makes. And thank you all for listening tonight and for staying late. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Alana Bell, candidate for the Ward 9 seat on Cleveland City Council. My race is unique, like everybody's race is unique, but part of the uniqueness of my race is I am running against a 24-year incumbent, somebody who has been on City Council since 2001, and regardless of all the ins and outs, Cleveland City Council has functioned pretty much the same way, probably since Polensek has been on board. It's functioned pretty much the same way. The current council likes to posit itself as a progressive movement, and we can see with all the children who are not eating, we can see with all of the families who are not growing, we can see with all of the people who have limited transportation, we can see with all of the people who are in economic despair. Cleveland City Council is not nearly as progressive as it can be. I am running a reproductive justice campaign, and this RJ campaign, this justice-centered campaign, is part of what we need across the city to make sure we are living happy, healthy, sustainable lives.
Thank you.
I need all of your help. We must tighten our bootstraps. We are faced with much. My name is Leon Meredith, and I'm running for Ward 8 councilman. And it is my duty to sacrifice, serve for the future of us. That's what council people do. They plan for the future of their community, not for the higher ups. It's too much status quo that has been going on, and we have been accepting it. We accept the same rhetoric, the same talk. Plan to elect someone that's in front of you, that the first mission of mine is to sacrifice. We must leave behind the world, separate our needs from wants.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Terry Wong. I'm running for the new Ward 8, which is Asiatown, St. Clair, Superior, Huff, and all of some of downtown. So my campaign is focused on 3 things: food, housing, and transportation, because I believe, and I know, and all of you know, that is the path to true dignity. And that is what our local government should be investing in us, our dignity. Local government, any government, should not be driven by profit, should not be driven by market forces, should not stand passively by as those forces push more and more of our citizens into sheer destitution. And I will not stand by also while public goods, public jobs, and public responsibilities are also privatized into the nonprofit industrial complex, the development industry, because a local government that is sound puts people's basic needs
Thank you so
first.
much.
Thank you.
My name is Mohammed Faraj, and I'm running for City Council in Ward 7. And you know, as a Palestinian right now in this moment, I have to say that a big part of what's going on in the Middle East drove me to this seat right now, and the genocide going on in Gaza. And I intend to run on an anti-genocide budget hawk. What that means, is, every decision I make with regard to the Cleveland budget will be based on valuing collective political power that doesn't define itself by exploitation, destruction, or extraction. City Council is an elected body that's in closest proximity to the taxpayer, which means we have a duty to ensure every cent of taxpayer money translates into tangible improvements to every resident. And I'm running to bring power to the voices of the taxpayers and the residents, not the mayor or insiders. Again, my name is Mohammed Faraj, and I'm running for Ward 7 City Council.
Okay, let's give all these candidates a hand. I think this has been a good night. There was a lot of information I received, and I just appreciate everyone participating. I just want to make a couple announcements. And so, what's coming up in September? Can y'all speak back to me? The primary. Yep, September 9th is the primary. And so, so the last day for registration for the primary is August 11th, and early voting begins August 12th. Also, the general election is when? November 4th, and early voting begins October 7th, and the last day to register is October 6th. Also, just be mindful that all the wards have changed, so that means that maybe there may be a change in your polling location. So we want to make sure that you check with the Board of Elections to make sure that you go to the right polling location. Also, please note that how many people know that the Board of Election has moved? You guys got that? So they moved. So now they're at 1803 Superior Avenue, the old Plain Dealer building. And I just want you guys to know that. Again, thank you all the candidates, the hosts, the congregation that let us have this space. And I'm gonna give it over to Eric. Give him a hand as he comes up.
Thanks, Travell. As Travell was saying, all of your voting information, if you need updated information, you can find it online. We made a little handy, tiny URL that goes to the Board of Elections if you want to use that. Also, you could just search Board of Elections. Yeah, thank you again to our candidates, everyone for being here. Thank you again to Little Africa Food Co-op and Miss Mickey for providing the food this evening. It never stops. And just as a reminder, we are going to be going over to Prosperity Social just after this for our after party. You are all welcome to attend and just continue the conversations. I'm really thankful for everybody attending tonight. We've never done this before, and hearing us in this conversation is very inspiring for me. I think there's a lot that can be done in coordination between City Council and the cooperative community and the solidarity economy. And I'm excited for it to continue on. So thank you all and have a great night. Hope to see you across the street.